Hi, and welcome to the Flex with Aaliyah. Today I'm going to talk about a conversation I had with my buddy recently, and it was all about life expectations, past, present, and how we deal with that when life feels like it's a shit show. That kind of sums it up. That's what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm going to kick things off with a quote. To be honest, I didn't like any of the quotes that I found. They were all so cliche and positive, which I understand and get because so many times individuals try to change their perspective. That's not a bad thing. However, it's also not facing how you might actually be feeling or what's present in front of you. And that actually leads into the conversation I had with my buddy, how growing up, they always told you, hard work. If you work hard, you will succeed. And we laughed at this notion when discussing this because that's a fallacy. It's not true. It is 1000% a fairy tale that if you work hard, you will succeed. Because there are plenty of people who don't work hard and succeed. There are plenty of people who bust their ass and don't feel successful or succeed, and they're still down the rut. And it's more of this notion that people use to drive their behavior, that if I do X, Y, and Z, then this is the expectation of what happens. And you believed it so much that you thought it was true, that all you had to do was work hard. He said that to me and I chuckled because I thought about it. I was like, oh my God, that's so true. How many teachers told me that if I just worked hard, I'd be successful? Now, success is defined differently for each person. Some people view it as something that is a financial element. Other people view it as something that is family oriented. So success is more of a notion and perception pertaining to the specific individual. So I was searching for a good quote. And like I said, I didn't like any of them. They were things like, it's not about running away from the storm, it's about dancing in the rain. Or weathering strong situations builds strong character. But the ones that I actually liked, that I felt were more authentic, life is hard. It doesn't matter if you're living in a huge mansion or standing in line at a soup kitchen. The truth of the matter is, not many of us were given the tools while growing up to cope with the many stressors in our lives. I absolutely love this quote because it ties into what I mentioned, I talked about with my friend, how we were told, work hard and you're going to be successful. How come people aren't taught how to handle being let go from jobs? We're not taught how to manage financing when we're in high school, how to take out a loan. Maybe you can't get a loan. What are your options? Perhaps someone dies in your life, or an individual cheats on you. You get a serious injury. We're not taught how to cope with those things in math class, science class, history, music, PE. And then when we're met with these moments, they can be so taxing since we don't know how to handle them. It's even further to say we don't know how to process them. Because if we've never experienced something, it's a new exchange that we physically and mentally have to handle and maneuver. And so many people will tell you how they did it, but you're not them. And what works for someone else, you might try the same thing, but it's not necessarily going to work for you, which makes it even harder. And then you're buying into what maybe your friends are saying or experts in the field are saying, but nothing is really working for you. Could you imagine how hard that must make it seem? How frustrating life must be now. You're trying all these tactics to get out of the hole that you're in or handle the emotional situation that you're experiencing, but nothing is taking. That's because there's no one answer for everybody. So how could life not be hard, right? I'm sure if you think about things that have happened in your life and how to cope with them, it's not going to be a straight line, easy answer. Like if I think about high school, I have a friend, how were we taught that she could have a miscarriage? How do you handle that? How do you handle fostering a kid and then taking that child away? Nobody teaches you those coping skills. I will say some of them are probably developed and learned over time, especially based on your experiences. However, sometimes people process and handle it and you think that they've actually gone in a positive direction. Other people cope with it and you're on the shit side of how they're handling it. But to them, that's what's protecting them. It's not protecting you, and then now you have to handle and cope with that. So it's pretty much just a tumbleweed of shit, we'll say. That's life. That's life. A tumbleweed of shit. There's your quote for the day. I'm done. There's this other quote that I really liked that felt so real to me compared to life is hard, but it's the struggle that makes us stronger. That's not necessarily true. Or life goes on. Love fixes everything. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Those are the stereotypical quotes that you're hearing to motivate yourself out of the muck you're in. This one I thought was refreshing. It says, reality of life. Always be ready to survive alone because some people change suddenly. Today, you may be important to them, but tomorrow you could be nothing to them. And that's real life. Holy shit. That's like a job. You could feel like you're valued at a job and the next day you're let go. You're laid off. You're fired. Same thing in a relationship. You could be thinking it's going great and then boom, they just suddenly leave. There's so much change in the world. It's so hard to control and you can't control anybody else, which makes life even harder. It's not predictable and we like to think that we can project what happens. I saw this thing the other day that was saying the moment that we're in, when we have a choice and the path we've gone down, we've experienced, we always think that that other path was going to be better. But in reality, we don't know if it would have been better. It could have been a clusterfuck and a horrendous experience. But because it's unknown, we waited as this positive experience that, man, if I only didn't go out with this guy, it wouldn't have happened. If I only took this job or I turned left here, I wouldn't have gotten that car accident. We use that to make ourselves feel better that there is an alternative. And that's not accurate. It's nice to believe for sure. And I do think it's bullshit that people are like, everything happens for a reason. Shit happens. We deal with it. We don't like it. We sometimes try to claw our way out and we're still stuck in it. Sometimes we can get out. But I do believe that when the going gets tough, if you stop, the likelihood of you somehow succeeding diminishes. And that is a sad thought. So I was talking to my buddy and he was like, I just give up. I'm done. I don't like this. I don't like that. This is not where I thought I would be in my life. And I asked him, where did you think you'd be in your life? Could you change it? What would you need to do in order to make that happen? And the hard part is actually coming up with those answers. You might not like where you are. Why don't you like where you are? Some people may or may not think that is an important question. What are the steps that need to happen in order to get to where you want to be? Or just out of the situation that you're in. I'd like to think that there's always a way out, but that is naive to think. But the alternative to trying is to suffer where you are. So you do have to try. Otherwise, that feeling is going to get more and more potent. And that is kind of how I would summarize what I've said, is you could either be stuck where you are, unhappy, not making changes, which is a choice. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily feel like a choice because you've tried. Okay, you've tried. Yep. But if you stop trying, you're ultimately saying, well, I guess this is where I'm going to stay, but you don't like where you're staying. So you can be miserable there and just kind of be complacent in that feeling, or you can keep trying. Trying's fucking hard. It's exhausting. It's depressing. It's sad. Absolutely. Because I'm trying to be honest with you. It's not sunshine and rainbows. Even when you get to the level of success that you picture in your head, it's probably still going to be hard. Usually we look at somebody else and be like, God, I wish I had what they had. And that's because we're jealous, or there's something that they have that we're envious of, and we're attributing that they've achieved success. To them, they might be feeling exactly what you're feeling because that's not what they view as success. You know, maybe they have 3 kids, but are a stay-at-home mom. You're like, God, I wish I had a family. But the woman who has 3 kids is like, man, I wish I had a profession. And there's that idea of comparison, but we have no clue. It's silly to think that we can look at somebody else and project their success. And if you're going through a really rough time, because God knows we all are at some point, keep trying. I know it's hard. I know it isn't easy. Regardless of how slow the attempts are, keep trying. Because you're going to be more unsatisfied staying where you are. And that ball of negative energy is going to build, or it doesn't dissipate. It kind of like flattens out and you're neither happy nor sad. You're just going through life. And that's not really living, is it? So what I'd like you to take away from this particular podcast is life is hard. Whether you're going through something challenging right now or not, something might come up later on. Keep working through it as best as you can, and every day is different. Find something that does help you get through the day. Whether it's walking a dog, eating a spoonful of peanut butter, something in the shitstorm that you're living in, take something away that's going to make you feel good or happy, and keep trying. If you need anything, please reach out. I'm available to talk. We're all going through something, even if we can't see it. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the Flex with Aaliyah. A little bit more serious topic, but something that we all deal with at some point in our life. And I'll catch you next time on the Flex with Aaliyah. Have a great day. Remember, keep trying.